long time ago, if I got here with another, I would walk right out your door. Don't make me sailor. There's one thing that you should know. That if you want me to love you, got to give it up or let me go.
When I was working at the Fox Theater, I didn't really tell anyone at first that I played music. I was just working and kind of getting into the environment. And, you know, when I first jumped up and played music in front of people, and people were excited, oh, you're playing music. You should have a band night. You know, we've got this slow night in December, and they gave me my own night, Wendy Woo's first night. And so I just called up everybody I knew from the bar, all the bands that I love, and the people that I had made a connection with. And, you know, hey, Brian Nevin, Big Head Todd, I'm putting together this band on this slow night at the Fox Theater. Will you come and play 15 songs with me? And he signed up, and Brian McRae signed up, who is Boulder's freelance drummer and drumoverdubs.com, and a couple other players that I love. And I just started playing. They would lay down this funky beat, and it would give me a lot of space to practice what I was doing. I never thought I was very good, but then I listened to some of these videos that we've been putting together, and with that kind of nice funky platform, it gives you a chance to try your solos. But I thought in my head, I want to do something different. I've been working at the Fox. It was the same band, kind of same instrumentation every night, and I thought that cello would be a really unique, different thing to do. At the time, it's the early 90s. And I had played cello as a child too, so I love the instrument. And I see this beautiful young woman standing at the bus stop up in North Boulder holding this cello, you know, as big as her. And I was like, oh, I was just thinking about this. So I put on the brakes. I swear the car could have, and then flipped a left turn into the parking lot.
And this little pickup came swinging by me with this woman in it, young woman in it. And then the pickup went kind of, you know, popped into the parking lot behind me, spun around, came back around, and then so she was on my side of the street. And Wendy popped out. I didn't know her. And she just came rushing over to me, and she said, "Do you play the cello?" And I was standing there with my cello. I was catching a bus from a gig to get, I don't even remember where I was going. It doesn't matter, because I just needed to be there. And it was just...
And I jump out of the truck and I say, "Do you play cello?" And she said to her cello, she said, "Yes."
And it was just lovely, because I said, "Yes, I do." And she said later that I could have been on my way to my first lesson. I mean, she had no idea who I was, but she just said, "Well, I want to start playing with cello, and, you know, could we get together, and here's my number." And I just fell in love that moment with her. I just loved her energy and the way she was so gutsy and just kind of, you know, popped out of her truck just to meet this perfect stranger, and I was in.
So I made the first album. We rented a little shack in downtown Boulder and soundproofed the walls and built an isolation booth and tracked that first album.
I just remember how much fun it was to go up there and meet there, and that, you know, we'd work for a while and work on takes, and we would all be in different areas of the house sometimes for different takes, wired up with mics, because the cello just bleeds through to everything. So they also had to kind of stick me somewhere over there. And it was and then we would just do cello parts alone sometimes without the setting with the other instruments, and I just remember it would be so much fun, because we'd be working on it and creating things, and then we'd take a break, and it was always really just fun to eat food and hang out, and it was Yeah, I have very fond memories.
10 or 11 songs, and the very last track of that album is called Unshaken Reprise. It's like a piece of the first song, and it was just us and this 8-track recorder, and we had all these tracks, and we ended up pulling out all of the instruments and leaving just the drums and the vocals, and you got that very kind of like rhythmic, percussive, chanting song. Songs, and I put it out, and there's I was dating the keyboard player, of course.
Paul had definite ideas and would throw a lot more weight into sort of trying to sway Wendy, I think, on various points.
And there was an argument over putting a picture of myself on the cover, and if that's narcissistic or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then,
I do remember that, and I always disagreed with him on that. Especially with Wendy. I mean, my gosh, she's so dynamic and so beautiful. And then to have a painting, drawing, although she took great, that was another thing, going out to take PR photos, the two of us. We got some great photos.
And then, so we finally, after struggling through it, as if it was this gigantic deal, we ended up putting a small painting that my mother did on it. And, it's kind of like a surreal picture of me playing guitar. It doesn't really look like me, but it's just very, dreamy and Picasso-ish, very weird. In burgundy, which is my favorite color. And then there's a picture of me on the back, just kind of owning it, But I was 27 and growing up in Boulder, so, I had long frizzy hair and a unibrow, whatever. Wasn't wearing a bra or underwear. So I've learned a lot, and, about fashion from 27 to 43. There's a nice little jazzy song in there called Bird in a Cage that I wrote, sitting in a big window in New York City, out, overlooking the craziness of the city. So I really like that song. Another song I probably don't play anymore. I was staying at Allen Ginsberg's apartment in New York City. I had run away to New York when I was 19. I guess it's not running away when you're 19. And was just kind of kicking around the streets of New York City, crashing at people's houses and just trying to get by. And so my mother got word of this and panicked. So she called her friend Alan and said, hey, Wendy, my screwed up daughter is in New York City and she's struggling and, she needs a place to stay. And he was, away at the time, traveling in China, I think, maybe. And let me stay at his apartment.
I love Bird in the Cage. It's my favorite song. Sincerely, my favorite song.
I sit in this window from the dark till the dawn. My eyes on the city, rest on the fall. The breaking of silence, the moment is gone. It seeps out the window and earth the song. Early bird. I sit in this window like a bird on a swing. My side on the city like smoke through the screen. The sounds of the piano, the mallet on strings. It seeps out the window onto the sidewalk, it seems. She says, oh sweet sister, things ain't never gonna change. And the wind blew so gently when I thought it might rain. And the night was so quiet, no, it never sits still. When the wind blew in wild, well, it gave me a chill.
She was definitely someone that I saw, that I felt was going to get where she wanted to go faster because of her personality and because of how she was approaching things. So I kept an eye on a lot of what she was doing.
A few years. I mean, my vision with Hannah was to add her to the band and to have some, you know, the deeper sound and the cello in the band, but also to have a woman in the band was kind of nice. And her and Edwin played wonderfully together. Edwin had these great finger tapping parts where she would do some staccato in between it, so they had a nice rapport. But also Hannah and I did a lot of duo stuff, just the two of us. The band just took a lot of changes between Angels Laughing and Wide Awake and Dreaming. I think that Paul just felt that there wasn't a lot of room for a fretless instrument in a funk band. I think there was some competitions for the space between the cello lines and the keyboard lines, I think. So
it was kind of around the time Paul was kind of reshaping a bit of what Woo was doing with the band and having her move a new direction. And it was actually kind of cutting out more of her connection with me on stage. And he felt like that was sort of, I don't know, it was similar to his, you know, that's narcissistic, that kind of a comment. It was a little bit along the lines of your energy is too big together, or it's almost sensual together, or it's distracting, or I don't remember what his words were exactly, but he wasn't real into it. And so he didn't really want me, I guess, as much in the band setting, and that was the direction she was moving with it.
But I think that was nitpicking too. At the same time, there was such a great energy on the stage, having Hannah and Edwin playing. So it was, I always enjoyed having her with us with the band. It's a hard instrument to throw into a rock and roll situation, but we enjoyed doing it, and you see it happen, you know, these days.
And one of the things that I'll never forget is she was on stage, and I think it was her and Matt Moon was singing with her, and the sound went out. All the power went out, and she was playing, and she didn't skip a beat. She kept playing, and what she did was she walked off the stage and walked into the crowd and sat down in the middle of the crowd and just continued playing her song, and it was Angel from Montgomery. And Matt Moon came down and sat right next to her, and it was like this really cool, acoustic, intimate singer-songwriter in the round. It was like she just sat herself in the middle of the audience and sang for everybody. And to me, that struck me as like, wow, that's pretty special. There might have been other people doing that, but I just remember being touched by that moment. And you know, it was just one of those times where I wanted to be, I felt like I was always going to know what she was doing and who she was, because she just seemed like that kind of special artist.
You know, it's really fascinating. Probably the greatest enigmatic figure in my lifetime, in a band I didn't particularly like at all, was Jim Morrison from The Doors. And Jim had this thing where he would turn his back to the audience. He would sing with his back to the audience. And his managers, everybody kept wanting him to turn around and when he did, he exploded. But it was one of those things where I think a lot of bands crawl inside themselves because the music to them is more about them. They're feeding their own soul, they're feeding their own internal being at the expense of being able to connect and be vulnerable with a room full of strangers. And Wendy has never shied away from that vulnerability. As a live performing artist, when you watch her, she exudes confidence. She connects eye to eye. She draws you into her performance. And she is one of the exceptional talents who can make a small stage look very big and make these big stages that sometimes she's on come down to her and make the stage shrink down.
New song, I haven't played it in a while, but I thought it might be nice if I happened to capture it right. But it's an old Billie Holiday blues standard. It ain't nobody's business what I do. Well, there ain't nothing I can do or say that folks don't criticize my way, but I am going to do just what I want to do anyway. Well, if I should get the notion to jump on in to the ocean, well, it ain't nobody's business, ain't nobody's business if I do. And if I go to church on Sunday and a cabaret all day long on Monday, well, it ain't nobody's business, ain't nobody's business if I do. My man, he ain't got no money, and I said, go ahead, you can have all of mine, honey, 'cause it ain't nobody's business, ain't nobody's business if I do. No, Lord, if I do. I said that I'll give him my last nickel if it leaves me in a pickle, 'cause it ain't nobody's business, ain't nobody's business if I do. No, Lord, if I do. No, Lord, sweet swinging. Now you see, if I dislike my lover and I leave him for another, well, it ain't nobody's business, ain't nobody's business if I do. No, Lord, if I do. No, Lord, you see that? If my old man, he tries to hit me, I will knock him down, drag him out of my house, oh, so quick, because it ain't nobody's business if I do. No, Lord, if I do. No, Lord, I said, nobody's business. Is that right? Nobody's business. Nobody's business if I do. Nobody's business if I do. If I do. Thank you. Yay, I did it. You never know.